The Biden administration has revealed it's already working closely with the Albanese government to counter China's growing influence in the Indo-Pacific. In a broad-ranging interview about Beijing's dominance in the Australian alliance, US State Department Counsellor Derek Chollet spoke with our Washington correspondent, Annalise Nielsen.
Well, first I should say that the Prime Minister's visit to Madrid alongside the Prime Minister of Japan, President of Korea, Prime Minister of New Zealand is historic. The first time that we've had those Indo-Pacific partners and allies meeting at the leader level with our NATO allies. And I think it's a testament to the tremendous progress we've made in bringing together this broader alliance. And it's a testament to the shared perspectives we have on the security concerns in the world, as well as the hopes and opportunities that we see for greater security cooperation. Look, it's quite clear that we need to stand together to send a clear message to Russia that its actions are unacceptable, that they're going to need to pay a price for those actions. They are paying a price. They need to continue to pay a price. We're seeing that brutality only grow, unfortunately, every day in terms of what they are doing to Ukraine. So I expect that at the NATO summit, our NATO allies, alongside our partners from Australia, Japan, Korea, and New Zealand, will send a very clear message of support for Ukraine and condemnation and punishment for Russia. What we're seeing in Europe cannot be repeated anywhere else.
We're already seeing a bit of a diplomatic reset between Australia and China. This has been a priority of the new government coming in after years of a diplomatic freeze. What's the perspective from Washington on this? We see very hawkish behaviour towards China on the Hill. Is this seen as a positive?
Well, it's very critical for the United States to be successful in terms of our approach to the PRC, is that we're working in conjunction with our partners and allies. Secretary Blinken several weeks ago gave a speech here in Washington outlining the Biden administration's approach to the PRC, making very clear that we see the PRC as the country in the world today that has both the capability and the intent to try to remake the world order. And in response to that, we need to stand strong with our allies and partners. We need to invest in ourselves here at home to be able to compete with the PRC. We're not asking nations around the world to make a choice. We're trying to give them a choice between engaging with the PRC and deepening their engagement with us. We, the United States, have engagement with the PRC on a range of issues. There are elements of our relationship that are conflictual and in which we fundamentally disagree. There are going to be elements of the relationship where it's competitive, and we welcome that competition as long as we play by the same set of rules. And there are elements of the relationship with the PRC that can be cooperative. Unfortunately, that's a narrowing band of issues where we can cooperate. But for example, on climate change, that's an issue where cooperation with the PRC is going to be absolutely critical if we're going to address the consequences of a warming climate. So whether it's through AUKUS or whether it's through the Quad or whether it's through the partnership with NATO or a bilateral relationship, the U.S.-Australian relationship is going to be absolutely critical as we are addressing the multifaceted challenges that's coming from the PRC.
And one of those challenges has been the international treatment of Taiwan, in particular the Pacific Economic Framework. We saw a bipartisan group of senators saying that Taiwan should be included in that, not put in a separate dialogue. What's your response to that?
Well, we have, of course, a very strong unofficial relationship with Taiwan, and we've worked to deepen that partnership over the last year and a half. U.S. policy on Taiwan has not changed. Secretary Blinken made that very, very clear in his speech. We adhere to the 3 communiques, the 6 assurances, and the Taiwan Relations Act, and we do not support Taiwan's independence. That said, we have a very, very important set of relationships with Taiwan, economic relationship, military relationship. We have embarked on a ambitious set of trade talks with Taiwan, and we look forward to advancing those further. And in the meantime, in parallel to that, of course, is we are looking forward to developing IPEF, the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework. And that's off to a very strong start as well in terms of getting that off the ground from its announcement just 6 weeks ago in Tokyo.
The Australia-US alliance has really elevated in the last few years. What do you think is the biggest area, the critical area for the two countries to work on?
Well, I think across the board, it's hard to pick one particular area. I mean, of course, the work we're doing on security cooperation through AUKUS is historic and game-changing in the coming years. Our economic cooperation is deep, and our work together diplomatically in the region, whether it's addressing our shared concerns about the PRC's behavior in the Pacific Islands and its efforts to try to gain a foothold there, or more broadly in the region, or the work that we're doing together in the coming days in Madrid to address shared security challenges across the transatlantic space and more globally. I think this partnership is absolutely critical. Australia, of course, is one of our core treaty allies. And we're very proud of the work we've done over the last year and a half to deepen that partnership, and we're looking forward to the years ahead and what we're going to be able to do together.
How do the US and Australia increase the influence in the region when we're often just simply outspent by China?
Well, again, the G7 represents 50% of the world's GDP. If we add in countries like Australia and others, that percentage only goes up. We think that we are stronger, clearly, when we are working together. The work that our two countries are doing with others, for example, in the Pacific Islands, I think is critical. And Secretary Blinken has had many conversations with Foreign Minister Wong in just her few weeks in office. And I think that we're determined to cooperate with Australia in the region and more broadly when it comes to addressing our shared challenges.
The priority of climate change, how critical is that to the Australia-US alliance, and will there be any asks on that front?
Very important, and we're very happy to see continuity from the Australian government on that. I know Secretary Kerry, a former Secretary of State, who's our climate envoy, has been in intense conversations with his Australian counterparts. It's also something, of course, Secretary Blinken and the President have talked to their counterparts about. Again, our work together, whether it's on climate change, whether it's on our economic development, whether it's on security issues, our diplomatic cooperation, across the board, the U.S.-Australian relationship is critically important to us, and that's why we are going to be further investing in it and further present in Australia in the days ahead.